Okay, picture this. You walk onto a massive factory floor. It is just a world of incredible complexity, right? You've got thousands of pumps, motors, sensors, pipes, all of them working, all of them aging, and all of them needing constant attention.
So that brings up the big question, right? How on earth do big companies keep track of everything? I mean, without some kind of system, it is just absolute chaos. Maintenance turns into a constant firefight. Planning is just a wild guessing game. And trying to make smart strategic decisions? Forget about it. It feels totally impossible.
Let's put it this way. Imagine trying to find a single, tiny screw, but it's in a giant, cluttered garage, like warehouse-sized, and it's a complete mess. It's a total nightmare, right? Well, now just scale that problem way, way up. That is the exact challenge these huge facilities face every single day. But we're talking about assets worth millions and millions of dollars.
Right, so this unstructured environment, this world of a million moving parts with no clear map, that's where we're headed first. So when you're in this state of chaos, your daily reality is just purely reactive. Something breaks, you scramble to fix it. You go to order a spare part, and oops, it's the wrong one because the records are a total mess. And trying to figure out why things are failing? Good luck. The data is so inconsistent, it's basically useless. Every single task is its own separate one-off headache.
But what if I told you there's a simple, really elegant way to bring order to all of that chaos? Well, there is, and it's all about something called classification.
So what is asset classification? It's really the foundational first step. It's just a systematic way of grouping similar assets together based on how they're designed or how they work. So, all the pumps that operate the same way, they go into one bucket. All the motors of a certain type, they go into another. It's really just about creating order out of the madness.
Remember that cluttered garage? Well, this is like finally organizing it. You put all the tools with other tools, all the paint with other paint. Suddenly, finding what you need is a piece of cake, and planning your next project becomes so much easier. That's the power of classification, but for an entire facility.
Okay, so once you've organized that garage, what does that actually unlock? Because this is about way more than just being tidy. This is a real game changer for the whole operation.
Yeah, so why is this more than just tidying up? Why is this one step so much more than just a simple administrative task?
Well, for starters, it completely transforms your maintenance planning. Think about it. Instead of writing 200 different unique maintenance plans for 200 individual pumps, you write one standard routine for the entire centrifugal pump class. And then you just apply it to all of them. The amount of time and effort you save is just massive. And on top of that, it guarantees everything is done consistently.
Next up, you get data you can actually trust. When every single asset is described and tracked in the exact same way, your reports, they suddenly start to make sense. You can calculate accurate failure rates. You can track KPIs that actually mean something. Your data literally goes from being just a bunch of noise to being a super powerful tool for real analysis.
And that clarity, it rolls right up to the top. Management finally gets a clear, structured view of all the assets. This lets them make much smarter decisions about where to invest, how to manage risk, and what the long-term strategy for the whole place should even be.
And it doesn't stop there either. Your supply chain and inventory teams, they benefit hugely because when you know that, say, 50 of your pumps all belong to the same class, you know exactly which spare parts you need to keep on hand. This cuts down on duplicate stock, it prevents running out of critical parts, and, most importantly, it means way less downtime while you're waiting for something to arrive.
All right, so how do you actually do this? It's not just about random grouping, there's a really specific logical structure to it. Let's dive into the 4-level blueprint and see how it all comes together.
Okay, the whole system is built on a 4-level hierarchy that goes from really general to really specific. So you start broad at level 1 with a category, like rotating equipment. Then you get more specific at level 2, the type, which would be pump. Now level 3 is the class, centrifugal, for example. This one is super important. It's where the real differentiation and standardization happens. And finally, level 4 is for all the unique characteristics, stuff like horsepower or seal type.
And here you can see exactly how this grounds the blueprint in reality. A pump, for instance, fits into rotating equipment, then pump, then the class centrifugal, and then its specific characteristics are listed out. And you see the same exact logic applies to an electrical motor or an instrumentation sensor.
Every single asset finds its perfect, logical home in the system.
But, and this is a big but, for this whole thing to work, there is one golden rule you have to follow. Your classes have to be clearly defined, they have to be distinctive, and they absolutely positively cannot overlap.
Here's a perfect example of what I mean. On the left, you see the incorrect way. You can't have one class called electric motors and another one called DC motors, right? Because a DC motor is an electric motor. That creates overlap. It creates confusion. The correct way, on the right, is to have distinct, non-overlapping classes at the same level. AC induction motor, synchronous motor, and DC motor. See? That logical consistency, it's everything.
And when you follow this blueprint, you fundamentally change the entire nature of your operation. You literally move from that state of constant reactive chaos to one of proactive, strategic control.
There's a great quote that really says it all. Classification makes asset performance transparent. What does that mean? It means leadership can finally see exactly where the risks are, where the costs are piling up, and, maybe most importantly, where the biggest opportunities for improvement are hiding.
And that, right there, is the transformation. It's about working smarter, not harder. It's about standardizing processes so everybody is on the same page. It's about turning that useless, meaningless data into real, actionable insights. You end up improving the overall health of your equipment, and you build a solid foundation that can actually support a long-term strategy. You stop just keeping things running, and you start running them better, safer, and way more efficiently.
Which brings us to a final thought here. This whole principle, bringing order to chaos with a simple, logical system, it doesn't just apply to giant industrial plants. So take a second and think, what chaos in your own world, maybe in your work or even in your life, could be solved by just taking a step back and creating a simple system for it?